Hello, hello. I have got a new concept for you. No. It's not a new concept. It's actually new technology. And what's interesting is when I learned about this, when I was introduced to this, I had no idea just how much this could impact and the number of companies it could impact at any one time. And I just had to get them on the show. I've been trying for months to get this show underway. So let's not even waste any time. You're listening to The Human Resource. My name's Pandy Pridemore, and today I have Rob Geist, Director of Sales for a new company. And am I allowed to say it's new?
It's not really new, but that's okay. We've been around for 12 years. The concept's been going for 15 years.
Oh, come on.
I promise it really has. We didn't create this idea. And thank you, by the way, for having me first and foremost. But actually, the way SimpleVMS started was the president of our company, Jason Oswald. We worked at a staffing company. So we were dealing with other VMS companies like Chimes. And Jason's genius was twofold, right? First of all, he realized that the software is not really good, so he could build a better mousetrap when it comes to what the software does. But he also said, hey, and you don't need to be a Fortune 500 company to actually need a software like this. So we've had clients for 12 years. We sold it. It took us about 6 months before that we were selling it here in Cincinnati before we had any clients. But yeah, it's been a while.
Okay. So I'm going to take you all the way back to the beginning, because what our viewers and listeners may be thinking is the computer or technology thought of VMS, meaning, how they can get to their computer.
Yeah.
And what VMS means for you is vendor management.
Vendor management system, correct.
SimpleVMS is a software that helps with the management of contingent temporary workers.
And the agencies that those workers are employed by. So you've got the client, there's us kind of in the middle, and each one of the suppliers are kind of offshoots from that. And then there's also worker management in there for the client, for the contingent workforce as well.
Well, and this is what's so interesting. How many companies, if we really did a survey of all the companies in the country, and ask them, have you ever used a temporary worker? Have you ever worked through a staffing agency to work on your workforce? And right now, in this economy, so many more are reaching out to this group. Your system is actually one of the most cost-effective and most efficient way, because you integrate. So talk to me and help the viewers understand that.
Yeah, so our system is set up custom for every one of our clients. So everybody's got a different system and process in place, right? There's no cookie cutter way for end companies to utilize temp staffing agencies and manage their temporary staff. So what we do is we go in and we build the system out specifically for them. So it's their processes, it's their flow, all their job titles, compliance items, timekeeping for the contingent workforce. All of that is in our system, and it's custom to each and every one of our clients.
Okay, so everybody listening has probably been associated with some kind of a payroll system that they just go right in, they can control their own information, but then the payroll system talks to the benefit system, and the benefit system talks to the COBRA administrator and does all that. So it's again, HR has changed so much.
Yep.
And so this kind of integration takes that HR role and simplifies it down to one punch and three things go out. You're telling me that SimpleVMS does this for staffing.
Yeah. So we have the end client and then all the staffing firms that support our end clients. So right now we've got, I think there's 800 different staffing firms that utilize SimpleVMS to help support our clients. So yes, I've explained it like it's like an HRIS system for your temporary workforce is kind of a very high level way to put it. It's just one place to do everything temp staffing.
And as a consultant, I am sitting here just wanting to jump up and down because so many times there's a bit of confusion between
Yep.
a temp agency, representative or a temporary worker,
Yep.
and the actual employee. So they want to put information on a temp in their standard W-2 HRIS system. And you're telling me that you have a platform that allows that distinction and gives them the ease of maintaining that information and using it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is important to have your temporary workforce in a different system than you do your internal full-time people for that co-employment. So not only does our system streamline and simplify the whole process, but it also gives our client a co-employment barrier for all the temporaries that are working from them. I mean, Amazon had the whole co-employment lawsuit several years ago. So that whole thing has been buzzing around for the last 5 years.
Exactly. And then the transition, if we want to take that temp and make them into a W-2, we have all this information gathered in SimpleVMS, and we can just, collectively or very politely move it over into the actual payroll system.
Yeah, absolutely. So our system, just the kind of the top 4 things that people kind of see in any VMS, not just SimpleVMS, is it centralizes everything. So they put their job orders into the tool and release them to their staffing agencies. The agencies submit the people back over, and whether it's a direct send role in a light industrial warehouse environment, or if it's a professional that they want to have a resume interview for, the people become workers in the system. And then the next 3 pieces that are very kind of unique to what we do is timekeeping. So SimpleVMS has its own timekeeping system for the entire contingent workforce, and that includes putting clocks on walls in warehouses.
Oh, come on. No more timesheets?
No more timesheets.
No more cards?
Yep. And no more having 6 different methods from 6 different vendors for, your process. Yeah.
Good point. You simplify it and put everybody on the same platform.
Yep.
And those vendors don't mind.
The smart ones don't mind. Here's in one big difference between us and a lot of our competition, though, too, is since we came from the staffing world, we're extremely vendor friendly. I want the suppliers to see as much benefit from this as my clients do, and because it's change for them, and there's a lot of potential fear that happens there. So we don't get in the way of the relationship that our clients have with their suppliers. We actually encourage them to keep that relationship, and we actually do try to help the suppliers by building them exports for their payroll systems, things like that.
Well, and again, I've only been slightly exposed to your system, but this is the thing that impressed me the most, was that your metrics and the ability to pull data from your information is so sophisticated that a company can actually compare one staffing agency with another to determine productivity, retention, cost.
Exactly. Yeah. And usually before our system, they're actually asking their suppliers to put these metrics and reports together for them. So that's non-revenue generating activity for those suppliers. So we take that off of them and we give the client the exact reports and metrics that they want. It could be anything from hours reporting, time clock exceptions, invoicing happens in our system, vendor metrics, time to fill, all of that. Most of my clients, before we come in, their whole thing is, I think we might have, this is our time to fill, or I think our turnover percentage. It's all gut feeling because they really don't know. I think staffing vendor A is my best vendor. Getting them all on one platform, letting the jobs out to them all together in one place, letting them compete over them so the cream rises to the top there. But then the client can sit down with their suppliers every quarter doing their quarterly business reviews and let them know where they stand. And they can even reward the better vendors by giving them more orders if they wanted to, or if they have a supplier that has a better markup and they want to filter more jobs through them. So it's kind of unknown for a lot of our clients. I walk into most first meetings, and the first thing I ask my clients is, how many temps do you have? And they're like, I might have 70 to 90. With our system, they know exactly how many people are in their building, how many people are clocked in, and then they also know how many hours they've worked, and they also have the metrics on all those suppliers.
Okay, you've left one thing out, and this is probably just as important as all the rest of them, I would say, but You also monitor the onboarding, and you have the capability of maintaining records on what they've been exposed to or trained.
Yeah, so all of our job postings that the clients put out to their suppliers have listed their pre-employment screening requirements. Most clients want drug background and e-verify, and in most cases the vendors retain that data, but we can have the recruiter who submitted this person over attest to the fact that this person has met these requirements. So if they do go to run a background check on them in 6 months when they're converting them and they don't make it, they can go, well, Tim over here at staffing vendor A is the one who said they did that. So there's that, but then I can also require things to be submitted over to the client. It could be an NDA, a GMP signature page, anything the client wants the suppliers to do before they submit people over. I can require that to be a gate that the supplier has to jump through before they can submit the person over.
This is hysterical. This is absolutely hysterical. Why are you such a best kept secret?
And it's funny because a lot of times I go into meetings and my prospects say, why haven't I heard about this before?
Exactly.
Right. And a lot of what we do, a lot of what I'm doing is educating people on it, right? The difference between what a VMS is compared to an MSP, just what the system is. If I get in front of people who actually have enough temporary utilization, it almost fits everybody. But it's hard to get that message out there. And a lot of my competition is, huge companies that only want 20, 30, 40, $50 million programs, when we'll work with you if you've got 20 to 30 temps minimum. Anything over that, you could benefit from using our system. So we're working on trying to get everybody to know about it. That's why, we hired new people. We've got a new marketing team, and we're really focusing on that. But being effectively a startup for the last 10 years, we've been out there selling it, but there's still a lot of people who don't know what it is. And one other little point to that, a lot of industries use VMSs specifically. So the pharmaceutical industry, they use VMSs as a whole. If you go to these different pharmaceutical companies, because they're talking about it at their conventions where they're connecting with everybody. Some of the other industries, it's coming up, but it's really all education for me and my team. I'm not even really selling anything. I'm just educating people on what we do.
Do you know how many companies would love to say that?
Yeah, it is a good position to be in.
Well, and let's stress to our viewers and listeners, you just clarified that this is not just for the hospital system. It's
Yep.
not just for the academic, where it's not just for manufacturing.
No, it fits in almost any industry. Currently, I've got clients in numerous industries, from automotive to logistics to strictly IT. I've got healthcare providers that use our tool to manage their nurse staffing. So really the big thing is, and a lot of the suppliers don't want people to know this, but staffing, right? It's not much different depending on the industry that you're in. Yes, there's different things you have to jump through to get the people over, but the process is pretty similar. So it fits in almost any industry. And as long as they're using temps, as long as there's some headaches that the person managing that is having, our system can help them by streamlining and simplifying all the processes that they have in place.
One thing that you haven't said, and you probably wouldn't even think about this as being an advantage, but from my perspective, it would give some of my clients a huge edge to be able to say, wait a minute, this guy's already in our system. He was with this temp agency 6 months ago, and now he's showing up with this temp agency, and having the records to say, what happened, how did he do we really want him in the building?
Oh, that's a huge piece. We call that do not rehires in our system. So a client can mark Pandy as do not rehire. After that, if another supplier tries to submit Pandy over, because sometimes these workers will go from agency to agency looking for new jobs, we can block Pandy for coming back. That's especially important when there's expensive merchandise in the buildings and somebody has stolen something in these logistics companies. Or let's say someone did something egregious to somebody and it's just a danger to have that person back in the building. That gives my clients kind of a little peace of mind that using our system, they don't have to worry about that as much anymore.
Yeah, this is hysterical because, again, it took me months to get you in here.
Yeah.
Now let's tell them the good part. It doesn't cost the client anything. How do you do this?
Well, and again, it's the suppliers who pay for this. So our system is 100% vendor paid typically. Now, but I'll tell you something, Pandy. I have had clients with suppliers who have extremely low markups, and they might give that vendor a bump to cover some of the cost of the system. But I'd say a vast majority of my clients, 100%, make it vendor paid. So they tell their suppliers that, listen, guys, we need you to partner with us on this. We're going forward with SimpleVMS, and it's actually paid for by the suppliers on a percentage of spend. So if a client spends $50,000 a week, that money would typically go straight to the staffing agencies. Instead, they pay us because we invoice the client. We take our very small percentage from there, and then we EFT the funds to the suppliers within 5 days or less, so they have their money quickly.
Well, let's talk about the even better part. Your retention is 99%. Come on. Is that real?
It really is. It really is. Once clients start using us, they never, and then when they change jobs, then we get more clients from those people. But because we'll do whatever the client wants. You talked about integration with systems at the beginning of the show. We'll integrate with whatever systems they have, whether that's a labor management system, an HRIS system. So we'll send all the data from our system to any of their systems. So it saves them time in that aspect. But once they get that set up, it's really hard for them to, change because we're so integral and we're really sticky when we get in there. It's funny because I've even had a lot of my clients will get acquired by larger companies, and then knock on wood, but I've had really good luck at converting those larger companies into clients of ours as well, because the people who used us were like, I don't want to do this without this moving forward.
And why would you not want to work with him? Rob Geist, Director of Sales for SimpleVMS. Thank you so much for coming today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Guys, call him.
Yep.
It's not going to cost you a dime. Thank you for listening. I want to say a shout out to Janet out in North Carolina. Congratulations on your new HR job. And the listener in Pennsylvania, Sharon. You've been listening to The Human Resource. Come back and see us again.